On Friday, August 22nd, 2025, 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska boarded the CATS Blue Line train system in Charlotte, North Carolina after finishing her shift at a nearby pizza shop. Iryna boards the train by herself wearing a hat, she's on her phone, she sits down in an aisle seat, and doesn't interact with anybody. In the seat behind Iryna is a man later identified as 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown, and without being provoked, he actually pulls a pocket knife out of his pocket. He strikes Iryna multiple times and then walks away. Iryna looks up to the suspect with confusion and shock and then looks down at her injury, which appeared to have been on her neck and her chest, and then puts her face in her hands and begins to cry. For a solid 10 seconds, Iryna knew what had happened to her. She was feeling the pain from her injuries, and nobody in the immediate area around her got up to help her. And granted, they may not have known what exactly happened in the moment, but they saw Iryna crying, they saw the blood on the floor, they saw the suspect holding a knife, and not one of them nearby decided to ask her if she was okay or try to assist. They got up and walked away. Two people who were in a different area of the train got word of what had happened and ended up trying to help Iryna after she had collapsed on the floor. However, it was too late. Now, the train ended up making a stop a couple of minutes after this incident, and as soon as DeCarlos Brown stepped off the train and onto the platform, he was arrested by Charlotte PD. On Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, a couple of weeks after the incident, DeCarlos was hit with a federal charge of first-degree MURDER, which means if convicted, he could face the DP. Now, according to court records, DeCarlos Brown suffered from homelessness as well as schizophrenia and has a criminal record that goes back to 2011. He's been arrested at least 14 times on charges including felony larceny, armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, and making threats. In 2014, he began a sentence of 5 years for armed robbery. He was ultimately released in 2020, and a few months after that was arrested again after he had assaulted his sister in her home in Charlotte. In January of 2025, he actually made several false emergency 911 calls claiming that a man-made material was controlling his body in basic functions such as eating, walking, and speaking. Charlotte police officers ended up telling him that this was a medical issue that he needed to seek treatment for and that there was nothing that they could do for him. Now, DeCarlos was hit with a misdemeanor charge after falsely reporting incidents to law enforcement back in January. However, North Carolina Magistrate Judge Teresa Stokes ended up granting the release of DeCarlos Brown after he had made a written promise that he would return for his court hearing. So his misdemeanor case was still pending at the time of this incident, and he could have likely been locked up had it not been for this woman granting his release. Now, Iryna is actually a refugee from Ukraine. She reportedly moved to the States a while back to escape the violence of her war-torn home, where she was living in a shelter. According to the most recent press conference, authorities stated Iryna had chose to settle in the community of Charlotte, North Carolina because she liked it there. She thought that it was safe for her. She ended up making friends, making connections, and she even got a job on the very first day that she received her work permit. Iryna was said to have loved taking care of animals in her neighborhood, and she also enjoyed helping elderly people. Iryna's mom, father, siblings, and friends are extremely devastated by her loss. Iryna's mom said that she loved America and that she would have wanted to be laid to rest here, so that is something that they are working on currently, making sure that she is laid to rest in a cemetery in America. This is obviously such a heartbreaking story, and incidents like this, which seem to be happening a lot lately, just continue to showcase the failures in our system. Why there seems to be a lack of safety and security on public transport systems, why there seems to be criminals who offend and offend and offend and offend walking amongst the general public will never ever make sense to me. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this case in the comments. My thoughts and prayers are with Iryna's friends and family at this time.